So the founders of Santa Monica, including Nevada Senator John P. Jones, had high hopes when they laid out Santa Monica's grid of streets and sold their first lots in 1875. As shown in this famous bird's eye view, they built a wharf, which you can see in the drawing, over there on the left, and they connected it by rail to Los Angeles. Jones's, you can see the train there. Jones's plan was to run the rails to his silver mines in Nevada and then to the Transcontinental Railroad. He and his partners laid plans for a city. Here's a map of the grid today. The grid, their grid, typical with grids, has proved to be remarkably tolerant of urban growth and change. The grid is permanent. Little else in downtown has been. The founders, as I said, were ambitious. They wanted the major regional port to be located in Santa Monica Bay. So did the Southern Pacific Railroad, which bought Jones out when he lost his financing in the Panic of 1876. For about 20 years in the early 20th century, the Southern Pacific operated a port here by means of this wharf, the long wharf, that took trains way out into the bay. Downtown Santa Monica was meant to be an important commercial hub. Here's a picture from 1890 of the handsome Santa Monica Bank building at the southeast corner of 3rd and Oregon, now Santa Monica Boulevard. Note the wide streets. 25 years before many were even dreaming about automobiles, Santa Monica's east-west streets were 80 feet wide, and Nevada Street, now Wilshire, was 100 feet wide. The next photo shows Santa Monica Boulevard looking east in the 1920s. You can see the bank's turret in the background. Note the streetcar tracks and how the street frontage was filled in. The Majestic Theater on the right became the Mayfair Theater, and its facade still exists, now fronting an apartment building. But originally, most of the lots in downtown were developed with single-family homes. There are still surviving examples like this one on 6th Street. In the 20s, before the stock market crash and the Depression, Santa Monica's downtown began developing into a major regional center, even though the dream of a port in the bay was doomed when the federal government chose San Pedro to be the port of Los Angeles. Many of the 19th and early 20th century residences were torn down and replaced by robust examples of commercial architecture of the period, culminating in 1929 with the 13-story Bay Cities Guarantee Building, now known as the Clock Tower. This building made a statement about the importance of the location, as 13 stories was then the highest height permitted in the LA area. So here's another photograph from the 30s, this one looking north on 4th Street. The tall building on the left is the Central Tower building, which was also built in the late 20s. It still stands. The 4-story building on the right is Henschey's department store, which came down after the 1994 earthquake. The Depression slowed down development in Santa Monica, but by the end of the 30s, the economy was picking up. Santa Monica was the home of Douglas Aircraft. That helped, especially as war approached. Although no buildings taller than the Bay Cities Guarantee and the Central Tower building were built until the 60s, there was development. Perhaps the favorite architectural style then in downtown Santa Monica was streamlined modern. The best example is the Shangri-La Hotel, constructed in 1940 at the corner of Arizona and Ocean. Another good example was the 1935 Europa store at the southeast corner of 3rd and Wilshire. Not to get ahead of the story, but when Barnes & Noble took over the Europa store in the 90s, it added a second story, but retained the louvers at the corner on the ground floor and the tower in a modified form. The development of Santa Monica's downtown as a regional center in the 20s and 30s was significant from the perspectives of urban and architectural design. For one thing, the architecture was forward-looking. Building meant progress, and progress called for a progressive and optimistic architecture. Yet the focus was still on city streets meaning walking and transit, not highways. As yet, no one was building parking lots that separated buildings from streets. Modern architecture was tied to a pre-modern plan and to good effect. A contradiction between modern design and urbanism only came later, when a suburban culture threatened to make the urban grid obsolete.